and we can start.
Oh, some interesting tickers. Actually, we're going to talk about several tickers that we have in the Q&A. I see here BTBT, SOXL, IBIT, a lot of Bitcoin stocks, Ben.
Our viewers are professionals.
Okay, questions about the gold, silver, interesting, NVIDIA. Oh, interesting tickers.
Aerospace and defense sector. All right, are we ready?
We are ready. Robinhood. Oh, MSTR. Interesting tickers. Thank you, guys. We will try to do this webinar as interactive as possible. So feel free to use the Q&A, and we will try to address as many questions as possible. As Ben mentioned, we have very, very interesting webinar today. We are going to talk about the market. We are going to share some live predictions. We are going to talk about the forecast that basically we have shared in the previous webinars. We are going to talk about leading sectors in the market, leading industries, leading stocks, and we are going to share some live forecast for leading stocks. As Ben mentioned, we have several surprises in this webinar, so I strongly recommend you to stay until the end. At the end, we're going to share some live forecast for the upcoming month. I'm going to start with a quick introduction of I Know First. We are an AI company. I Know First is an AI company. Our main solution is a predictive algorithm that generates daily forecasts for the financial market and identifies the most promising investment opportunities. We are utilizing deep learning, artificial neural networks, genetic algorithms to predict the financial market. Our predictive algorithm is generating daily forecast for over 13,500 assets from different asset classes, equities, ETFs, commodities, currencies, world indices with daily forecast for multiple time frames, short-term, mid-term, and also long-term. This is a global solution. We are covering over 50 global stock exchanges, including the stock exchanges in the US, Europe, Asia, including Japan, China, Singapore, India, and many more. And let's jump directly to the market that we have seen in Friday. Ben, what do we see here?
Yeah, we're seeing the forecast from last Friday that our clients got to their mail before the trading starts. We have here two kind of packages. The one is the under 10 package, and we're seeing just the first stock that in this specific forecast in the top left corner, we see MIEP, MI Pharma, a biotech company that actually jumped 31% on Friday. We can see here in the bottom. And to the right from our options package, we find open door technologies that jumped 36% and a lot of other percentages in the next last days and next days after, next days before, sorry. And this specific company that that actually gives a digital platform to buy and sell residential real estate to clients as a really strong signal, and we're going to talk about it later on in the webinar. But those two simple examples from Fridays shows us the abilities of the algorithm to identify the best stocks for each and every time frame and day, and we're going to learn about it later on in the webinar.
Yeah, what's unique about this forecast is the pretty strong signal that we have seen for those tickers. As discussed, we are going to talk about that later on. Okay, so let's continue. In terms of the I know first team, the I know first predictive algorithm was developed by our R&D team, a unique team that being led by Dr. Lipa Reutemann from the Weizmann Institute of Science, one of the leading experts in the field of artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, with over 23 years of experience. Dr. Reutemann is leading our R&D team that includes PhDs, AI and machine learning experts. We have math professor from Tel Aviv University, as well as employees with the background of data science, computer science, math, statistics, and also IDF veterans, specifically from the intelligence unit. My name is Yaron Golger. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of I Know First. I'm also lecturing at one of the leading universities in Israel for fintech and also AI. I'm engineer with EMBA from the Ben Gurion University. Ben, please introduce yourself.
Hey, yeah, my name is Ben Rubin. I'm the head of advisory in I Know First. I used to work in the big bank in Israel, Bank Hapoalim, as a financial advisor, and I'm helping Yaron presenting the webinars here once in a while.
Yeah, Ben is going actually to lead the webinar today, and I can guarantee that it's going to be super interesting. Okay, in terms of our clients, the I Know First predictive algorithm is being trusted by the world's leading hedge funds, investment houses, banks, family offices, and also high net worth individuals and retail clients from all over the world that utilizing the AI algorithm in order to identify opportunities in the market on a daily basis. In this list, we can find leading banks, leading hedge funds, leading family offices, and also several investment houses. With some of them, we have developed and actually produced several AI-powered investment products. Some of them are being listed in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. It's thanks to our partnership with Meitav Investment House. Basically, we have launched the first AI-powered mutual fund that already being listed in the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, and we are planning to do it in several additional regions across the globe. The predictive algorithm that you are about to see has received several international awards from UBS, from Entity Data in Japan, and also from the Geneva Wealth Tech Forum, one of the leading forums for wealth tech solutions. Here you can find several photos from those events. We are also really proud to have a partnership with one of the leading universities in Israel. We are delivering fintech course for the third year already. And in our website, you can find several reports about the predictive algorithm that I think it could be interesting for you to see the coverage, the media coverage. And also you can find several clients review that can assist you to identify the package that might fit your needs.
And of course, feel free to join our growing community on the WhatsApp group. You can scan the QR code that you see on your screen and join our WhatsApp group. In the WhatsApp group, we are actually sending a future forecast. We're showing some past predictions and AI articles about everything that is trendy right now. So you can join for free. Just scan the QR code that appears here on your screen and join our WhatsApp group. And by the end of this webinar, we're gonna publish our forecast for the Magnificent Seven for the next 2 weeks. So You can only see that on our WhatsApp group. You can get it for free. So just sign in and get the magnificent 7 forecast for the next 2 weeks.
So basically, we are offering two solutions to our client. On one end, we are providing daily predictions that identifying the best opportunities in the market on a daily basis. Basically, as we can see, we are providing heat maps of opportunities that includes 6 timeframes, short, mid, and also long term. So this is the first solution that we are going to discuss in this webinar, the daily forecast with the best opportunities that we are providing to you basically every day before the opening. On top of that, we have developed several systematic trading strategies, strategies with monthly rebalancing that rely on our AI forecast. And here's the idea is to convert the daily forecast into a portfolio. We are going to discuss it in this webinar as well, and we're going to see several examples and also products that we are offering based on this solution. The first predictive algorithm includes 3 components. By using the first component, it's possible to identify the most promising investment opportunities every day based on your risk preference. You can choose the stock universe that might be relevant for you. And from this stage, the AI algorithm is identifying the best opportunities on a daily basis. The second solution is providing to you stock market intelligence on a daily basis. By utilizing this solution, it's possible to identify the best sector in the market, to identify the best region in the world, and also to get insights regarding sectors and regions that we should avoid. We're going to see several actually live examples in this webinar. And the last component is basically providing us the option to get a customized forecast based on each client portfolio. So if you have a specific stickers in your portfolio, like the tickers that you have shared in our Q&A window, it's possible to get the custom forecast based on our AI algorithm for those specific tickers. Basically, we are suggesting to combine those 3 solutions when taking investment decision on a daily basis, basically. So how we do it? We are relying on quantitative data sets. The AI algorithm is basically taking into account on a daily basis huge amount of data sets that coming from the entire financial market. We are using data that coming from the different equities market that we are monitoring. We are utilizing data that coming from the interest rate environment, data that coming from the commodity market, currencies market. We're trying to combine a data set that representing the financial system. We are adding the daily data into our historical database. And on a daily basis, the AI algorithm is learning from the new data that coming all the time from the financial market, also from the historical data sets, and also for the combined data. And by utilizing our technology, the AI algorithm is building the complex network that exists in the financial market. There are thousands of correlation sets in the financial markets, and the AI algorithm is able to build this complex network by utilizing our technology without any human intervention. And this network is being built on a daily basis from scratch. And you are receiving basically the bottom line, the forecast with the best opportunities for the short term, the best opportunities for the midterm, and also the best long-term opportunities. Of course, this forecast is being sent on a daily basis before the market opening. We are combining different AI approaches into one predictive algorithm. We are utilizing deep learning, artificial neural networks, genetic algorithms, supervised learning, and reinforcement learning. And the goal is to separate and to focus on the most predictable assets on a daily basis. Not everything is predictable in the financial market. However, the algorithm is able to filter out the assets that are not predictable and to focus on the most predictable assets. And we are going to show you in this webinar which indicator you should follow in order to identify the most predictable assets in the markets. So if we're taking the US market as an example, we are screening the entire US market. We are applying our technology in order to identify the most predictable assets. Then we are creating a ranking of all the stocks in order to identify the best stocks, the best opportunities on a daily basis. And this process is being done on a daily basis.
All right, so how to read the daily forecast is, so as we can see, the forecast comes in the shape of a heat map. We can see it on the screen. We have green cells that represent long position, and we have red cells that represent short position or selling positions. And in each and every square, we'll find three things. We can find the symbol that, for example, NVDA in this specific square. We can find the signal that is located in the center of the square, and we can find the predictability that is located on the left bottom corner of each and every square. And the signal is actually represent the predictive movement of the asset. It actually gives us the price deviation of this specific asset, and it mainly helps us to rank the entire investment universe from the strongest signal that is actually located on the top left corner of the heat map. And we can see that it goes down to the right until the most negative signal that we can find in the bottom right of the heat map. In this case, NVIDIA has the strongest signal. We can see it by 1.32. And the signals help us actually to rank this entire investment universe, and we can know which asset has the most potential strength to move to the predicted direction. In this case, the algorithm think in the 1 month time frame, NVIDIA has the best potential to move up in the next following month. And the second indicator that we are using to identify the best stock out of the forecast is the predictability. The predictability is in Pearson correlation measurement. It can actually move from -1 to 1, and it actually tells us how good the algorithm can predict this specific asset. So the highest the value is, the best the algorithm can predict this specific asset. The numbers, if we're getting into perspective, 0.0 represents 50% probability that the algorithm will predict this specific asset. 1 represents 100%. So 0.5, it actually gives us around 75% probability that the algorithm can predict this specific asset. In both cases, we will look for the highest values and focus on the highest values, but giving more weight to the predictability. And we'll show you what do we mean by that later on. But just for you to know, those are the two indicators that we are using to locate and identify the best stock from the daily forecast that the algorithm generates on a daily basis. So let's jump and see how the forecast is actually look like. And after you signing in, and this is how you get the forecast. We can see, as Yaron said, the 6 time frames from 3 days to 7 days to 14 days, 1 month, 3 months, and even 1 year. And in each and every time frame, we have the best 10 stock to buy and the best 10 stock if we have enough stock to sell or short. And so if we want to invest for a period of 1 month, we will look for the 1 month period and see which stocks are the best to invest in for the next following month. We'll choose it by the signal and by predictability. first, we're gonna try and focus on the most predictable asset. As we can see here, the assets that have the highest value in the bottom left corner of each and every square. And then we'll try to find the highest signal values. So combining the predictability and the signal will give us the best result. Try to focus on the longer time frames. In there, we have, as you can see, the highest values of predictability. The predictability is higher on the longer time frame, as you can see here for the 1 month, 3 months, and 1 year. If we're comparing it to the shorter time frames of 3 days, 7 days, and 40 days. And again, some stocks can appear in multiple time frames. I mean, you can see some stock that will be in the 7 days, the 14 days, the 1 month, and even the 3 months. That's a good sign. I mean, we are looking for stocks that are appearing in multiple time frame, and it helps us to focus on the best stock if they appear in a multiple time frame. So that's in a general look of how the forecast looks like and what you are getting before the trading starts. And let's see some examples from July. In the next, just in the last week and even last days, we can find that the algorithm gave us a prediction for 3 days. We can see the time frame over here in the top left corner of the forecast. This forecast was generated on July 14, as we can see the date up here, 2025, of course. And we can see the best 10 stocks that the algorithm suggests us to buy and hold for the next 3 days. To the right in the table, we can find the performance of those 10 stocks. And as we can see to the right here, from the 14th of July until the 17th of July, those were the performance of those stocks. For example, BTCM moved 6% in those 3 days. A coin and BTBT actually moved 20% and 6%. And the average of this entire forecast was 3.9, while the S&P moved 0.6 at the same time. In this specific forecast, we also get the forecast about the S&P 500 index itself. This is a top 10 package, and we'll talk about this kind of package later on. But we can see and find that from the 14th of July, we can see a lot of crypto related companies, such as coins, such as BTBT, that also are actually using artificial intelligence. We can see Riot and CLSK, that both of them are actually, all four of them actually are using and related to the cryptocurrency and crypto world. And that's interesting because we saw some really major movement of the Bitcoin in the last month, and we're going to talk about it later on. And another forecast that we can find is for the 7 days. That was generated on July 13, 2025. And we can see the performance of those 10 stocks, again, with the average of 3.22 for a 7 days time frame. Of course, we can see some stocks that didn't move to the right direction, as we can see here, BITF or IBP, but the majority of the stock moved to the predicted direction and had a really nice, really good performance in a period of 7 days. If we are jumping to the 14 days time frame, again, we can find the predictability and signal of each and every stock here. And we can see, for example, BTBT in this specific universe had the highest predictability. We can find the predictability here. It's 0.36. And it actually has a really good signal as well of 4.49. And how do I know it's a good signal? I look at the other stock signal as well, and I can see that if the average signal here is around 1, and BTBT has 4.49, that's pretty high for this specific universe. and we can see that actually BTBT jumped by 30% in those 14 days. And we can also find here MIIP, which we saw earlier, that moved 100% in those 14 days. Of course, this package is more volatile than the normal packages, but we can find that the average of those 10 stocks was 25% in 14 days, while the S&P actually almost didn't move. So that's really interesting to see. Even in the 1 month time frame, we can find a lot of stocks that move with the actually really high numbers. Again, we can find the BTBT here. We can find the RFL, Rafael Holdings, which actually invest in biotech and try to find the cure for the cancer development. So we have AYTU and ILPT, and a lot of interesting stocks from different universe. And we can see that the average also was really high of those 10 stocks.
As you mentioned, what's fascinating here, Ben, is that already 1 month ago, we started to see the first signals, the first bullish signals for the Bitcoin, as we can see here with the BTBT. And same goes with the 14 days forecast as we saw before. Again, BTBT, BITF, and also in the short term, of course, in the 7 days forecast, we have seen also BTCM, BTBT, of course, Coinbase, Riot, CLSK, as you mentioned. And of course, we see it also in the short term, in the 3 days forecast, I think. So from the 1 month till the very short term forecast, we have seen the bullish forecast for the Bitcoin. I think you're going to talk about that also later on in this webinar.
Yeah, and if we are jumping into the 3 month forecast that was actually generated on 20 April and was up until today, up until the 20th of July, actually, we can find some really interesting stock such as AMD and NVIDIA, KLAC, Microsoft, ASML, JBL, and we can see the giant returns that they actually produced in these 3 months. And the average goes to 37% and almost doubled the S&P return in the same time. And even for long-term investors that are seeking for long investment time frames of 1 year, you can find in your forecast on a daily basis this forecast of a 1 year. We can find Shopify, we can find the Bank of America, TSM, Goldman Sachs, and many more in this forecast that also generated really, really good returns for a period of 1 year. And we can see here that the signal and the predictability are in the highest values. We see 0.76, 0.79, even 0.8. And we can see that the signals are also pretty strong. So that's why we are suggesting to focus on highest signals and high predictability values in the forecast. All right, so let's jump for some example from the latest days. We have a really interesting packages that I think that are relevant to this time. For example, AI package. It's actually that the AI is picking AI stocks. It's a funny universe that we live in. But the AI package, we can find the best AI stocks or AI-related stocks that the algorithm is suggested to hold for a period, in this case, for 3 days. And this forecast was sent to our clients on Friday, again, on Friday before the trading start. And what's interesting here is that we see that the S&Ps actually didn't move or was a little bit negative. The companies that were suggested to buy had all a positive return. We can find interesting stocks such as KTOS, which is manufacturing of drones. And we can find RBLX, SE, Shop, and Snap. All of them had a positive return in Friday. So that's interesting to see. While the market was almost negative and or didn't move, the algorithm actually identified stocks that have a positive return. And in the longer time frame of 1 month, we can also find AI-related stocks such as NVIDIA, Amat, Kaitos, um, Net, Rocco, STNE, really interesting stock that actually did some really significant return in the 1 month time frame that we see right now on the screen. So AI, we're going to talk about the AI sector in a while, but the AI is a really hot trend sector, a lot of interesting stocks, and you see a lot of money from many institutional players are flowing into the AI sector. Also, government money being invested in those AI companies. So I think this package is super relevant and super interesting for 2025. Another interesting package that was actually suggested by us in the last webinar. We talk about the BAS package. The BAS package is actually focusing on the most popular stocks and the stocks that are mentioned a lot on digital media or social media. The ones that are mentioned the majority of times, the many times in those in the media. So we can find stocks such as Apple, Nvidia, Tesla, all the Magnificent Seven actually, Palantir, Cusco, Amazon, Visa, Broadcom, AppLovin, SoFi, and many others, as you can see here on the list. And to this interesting trending list, we actually added the Bitcoin prediction. So you're getting on top of those stocks, the Bitcoin prediction, the gold prediction, and the silver prediction, as you can see here. So this interesting package have a really good return, or the BAS, which is a really popular ETF, has a return of 31% from the beginning of the year, as we can see here. And we can see what's happening here from April, when this specific package or specific universe made almost 60%. And really interesting to see the stocks that are in. And we can see here in the forecast for 3 days, for example, stocks such as SoFi that surged in the last few months. And we can find the Bitcoin forecast here. Again, you can see that the algorithm actually gave the Bitcoin a really positive prediction. We can find Coin, that is really interesting company right now. We can find MSTR that holds a lot of Bitcoins, or I think it holds the most Bitcoin in the world, the company that holds the vastest number of Bitcoin in the world. We can find the AMD and many other stocks that are from the Buzz universe. And into the right, we can see for the 14 days time frame, and see some stocks such as RBLX again, and Chipotle, SoFi, Microsoft, AFRM, Coin, really interesting stock that everybody talks about in a coffee break or between friends, and friendly stocks that I think that have a lot of potential in 2025 as well. And this is why I really like this specific package. And also we can find it for 1 month. We can find stocks such as NVIDIA, again, the Bitcoin. And here, something pretty amazing. You can see that the Bitcoin, BTC USD that you see here, was actually suggested by the algorithm on the 15th of June for a period of 1 month. And that's pretty amazing because this asset has the highest predictability out of all those 10 assets that we can see here. So the algorithm can read and forecast this specific asset really good, and gives it really high predictability and a good signal, which makes it a really good investment in 15th of June for 1 month. Also, Robinhood, we saw that it actually moved by 37% from the 15th of June 2025, and a pretty interesting company as well, particularly in the last few months. And we can see that it also really succeeded to generate a really high return in a short period of time. So this is the BAS package. Again, I think is super relevant these days. And another thing that is relevant is the aerospace and defense sector. XAR, if you don't know it, you should. Since Trump got up to be a president of the US, we can see though that this aerospace and defense sector is rocketing, and we can find from the beginning of 2025, 43% in this specific sector, which is quite amazing. And we know about it first. Yeah, we told you in the last webinar, who was here in 22 in June, we showed you the best sector to be in the last month, and we can see that XAR was one of them. And just in the last month, this specific sector made 12.6%, and I think it's pretty amazing. Out of the 10 more strongest signal from this index and sector universe. And we're gonna see, by the way, what's the forecast for the next month in the end of this webinar. So we have this specific package of XAR, which means that the algorithm is scanning all the stocks that are in this specific sectors. In this ETF of XAR, we can scan all the stocks that are inside and give you the best stocks to invest in for a period of 6 time frames, as we saw earlier. In this specific package, we can find, for example, the stock RKLB, Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab, a really interesting stocks that actually company that manufacture small satellites, and we can see that in the 1st of June, this company was in the top of our forecast for a 1-year prediction. Right, we can see that it has the strongest signal. I don't give you all I don't show you all the stocks that we have here. I'm just giving you a taste for the 1-year forecast. And Rocket Lab actually made from the 1st of June 92%. And look at this chart. The algorithm gave it a really strong signal here. Nothing really actually significant happened here if we're looking at the chart. But then we can see what happened in the next few weeks, and the company has made 92% in a period of 1 month and a half. So it's pretty impressive. We can also
space,
find,
right?
Sorry?
It went to the space, right?
Went to the space. Yeah, it's actually manufacturing satellites and trying to get to the space.
Yeah.
And we can see that another small, nice company called the KTOS is also here in this specific package, which also made 61% from the beginning of June, which is also quite amazing. So aerospace and defense has been one of the leading sector in the S&P 500 and in the American from the American sectors for a while now. So I think it's still super relevant, super interesting, especially when Trump around. And another really interesting and unique package that we have is the ETF package. To investor that doesn't like to invest in specific stock, or maybe want to get some lower risk, You can find some interesting ETF here. The ETF from the US ETF universe. And we can see some examples here from the beginning of the year, from March 5 of March, as we can see here. And what interesting here that the algorithm actually gave us a lot of European ETF and gave the weight of the portfolio to Europe. And that we saw that from the beginning of the year, Europe outperformed the US market and actually dominated until mid-April. And then we saw some changing in this universe and see that the US ETFs are back to lead the forecast. And we can find here the semiconductors universe, sorry. We can find the XSD, XSD semiconductors equal weight. We can find the stocks, which is the semiconductors. XLK is the technology sector, VGT, XAR that we just talked about, and also other regionals such as EWT, which is the Taiwan, and many other interesting ETF that outperform the S&P, as we can see here, like 10 out of 10 outperform the S&P index in this specific forecast from June 18. So ETF package, I highly recommend. It's giving you in your portfolio, it's diversing your portfolio geographically. It's diversing it from sector to sector, and you can be exposed to a lot of interesting sectors in the US market or even in globally. So ETF
Yeah,
package is one of
I,
my favorite.
I strongly agree with you. Actually, the ETF is providing also, a stock market intelligence component. So it could be very interesting to combine it with, on one end, to have the ETF package in order to identify the leading sectors, the leading regions across the globe. And also, by the way, the bottom is also very important because it's providing you insights which sectors and regions you should avoid, basically, and to combine it with a stock picking package that align with the sectors that you see in the ETF package. You can actually focus on the best universes if you're taking into account the leading sectors that appear in the ETF package, actually.
Yep. And this is a really popular package, the ETF package. And again, as mentioned, one of my favorite. And this is one of your own favorite packages. This is the top 10. Top 10 package actually holds stocks from the S&P 500, from the Nasdaq, and from the Russell 1000. It has a large pool of stocks, and the algorithm is actually scanning this huge pool of stocks and giving you the best opportunities out of the US market, basically. And adding to those forecasts, we have also in this specific package, only in the top 10 package, in the top 10, top 20, and top 40, we have add a forecast about the index, about the S&P 500 index itself. As we can see here, we have those 10 stocks, and we have the S&P 500 in the middle of the forecast that we see that the S&P is actually positive for the next month, and we can see that that was a good prediction, and the S&P went up by 5%. But I want to talk about the stocks that we see here, which are super interesting. For example, of course, the VRT, to whom of you which doesn't know, which is a special stock out of the Russell 1000, and it's actually works in cooling the computer servers. It actually has some contracts with NVIDIA, and looks really good. It looked really good in the past few weeks. We can find here AMSC, American Superconductor, which also makes solutions for turbine technology. We can find the Hood that we talked about earlier. We can find THC, which is actually a healthcare company. And we can find IESC that actually provide electrical and infrastructure services for many industries. And TSM that we all know, and Katos that we already talked about it. So it's actually taking stocks from different universe and combining into one package. So the top 10 is one of our leading packages and the most popular package out of them all. So remember that.
Another fascinating thing about this forecast, by the way, is Camtech, the stock that we see on the first place. We need to remember this forecast was generated on June 18th, only 5 days after the war between Israel and Iran started, and the AI algorithm decided to rank in the first place Israeli stock, Camtech, that being listed in the US market. And it's quite, I would say, unique forecast. And we can see the results after 1 month, 24%.
Yeah, it looks pretty good with the highest signal and pretty good predictability as we can find here of 0.5. Again, 0.5 predictability means around 75 probability that the asset will move to the predicted direction. So that's about the top 10. And now I'm gonna actually suggest you our special webinar sale for the next 24 hours. We are suggesting 1+1 for $299 a month. You can choose and combine between two packages from all the packages that we saw now and the packages that we have in our website. And you can do that without any commitment and you can cancel it anytime. Just try the product for 1 month and you're getting two packages. You can combine, for example, the top 10 and the best AI stock. You can combine the ETF with the BAS package, and you can choose any two packages that you want for $299 per month. And that's our first webinar sales for the next 24 hours. And I recommend taking, for example, the ETF or the S&P 500 universe and combine it with something more volatile, such as the BAS or maybe the option package that we haven't talked about yet, but it's a more volatile universe. So combining between risks can be interesting also in this specific sale. And now I want to talk about to whom of you that doesn't really like to, pick up stock on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and just want to have that the AI will actually generate a portfolio for him. And we have this quite incredible AI portfolio that the algorithm is actually choosing the best 10 assets out of all our packages for you guys every 4 weeks. And what you have to do is just get the list, buy the stock, and hold it for the next 4 months. You don't have to check any time frames. You don't have to check predictability of signal. We do it for you. Actually, the algorithm do it for you and gives you the best out of the best stocks from the entire investment universe. It could be ETF, it could be a stock, and that's actually a product that was opened just for institutional clients. And now we are letting private clients also using it. And the results, I think, are remarkable. If we are talking about the 2nd of April, when we launched this product, this AI-powered portfolio, it actually produced 31% from the 2nd of April 2025. 30% in how much months is it? It's like 3 months, almost 3.5 months, which is quite unique. This is a yearly return, by the way, and the algorithm actually succeeded doing it by in a 3.5 months, while the S&P itself made almost we see just above 11%. Um, and you ask, hey, how do we did it? So let's go throughout the portfolio in month by month, and we'll see the returns. And as you can see here, it's 31%. The S&P made 11%, and we can find that the H and every rebalance, what was the P&L of the strategy, and what was the P&L of the S&P 500. If we are talking about the first month, April, I'm sure some of you remember how volatile it was in the that we saw a -10, +10 in the S&P, while Trump and his Traffist made some really high volatility in the market. So we can find here that the return in April was 3.44, while the S&P went down by 1.8%, as we can see here. The stocks that the algorithm suggested to focus on was Palantir, Take-Two Interactive, Uber, IDXX, Microsoft, EPI, INTU, TDG, and the XLE and COP. And we can find the returns of each and every asset here in this table. And we can see that Palantir, for example, in this month made 35%, while the S&P went down. TTWO made 10%, 10.5%. Again, while the market goes down, the algorithm can identify stocks that moves up, and not just move up, but 35%, which is, I think, is unique. And all you have to do is just buy those 10 stocks in an equal weight manner, just buy it equally weight in the end of the trading day, of the day that you get the forecast. The next rebalance is going to happen on 3 days from now, on the 23rd of July, right? On the next Wednesday, the next rebalance will occur. So if you want to join this specific portfolio, you have to do it in 3 days. And I want to show you what happened again after this first rebalance was over in April 30. Again, you get 10 more assets, and those assets was Netflix, APH, ASML, as we can find here, and COOP. And this portfolio actually made 6.2%, while the S&P had 5.7%, again, beating the S&P. And in June, same way of buying the stocks, selling the stocks that you had, buying the new stocks that the algorithm gave you on the 28th of May. And we can see here that the portfolio actually produced 8%, while the S&P made 3%. This is remarkable. And you can see stocks such as AMSC that made 22%, or TSM and VRT that we just talked about. And even the semiconductors ETF was in this specific portfolio. And the Nasdaq 100, as we can see here, the QQQ, and the aerospace and defense. So we have a really unique combination here of ETF and stocks that the algorithm gives you out of all of our packages, the best stocks, if it's best predictability or best signal, out of our packages, and give and wrap it in a one portfolio that generating some amazing returns. And now the last rebalance was in 25th of June, and I want to show you what the portfolio is made until now. We can see here the return to last Friday stands on 10%. The month is not over yet, and we already generated 10%, while the S&P made 3.3%, and check the stocks that the algorithm told us to buy. AMST, IEST, UPST. We can find here stocks again. XHB, the home builders sector, that gave a pretty unique advantage here. And it's interesting to see that, let's say, 8 out of those 10 assets is actually outperform the S&P return, which is remarkable. And we can find that the return for this specific portfolio stands on 10.21%, and the cumulative return up until now is standing on 31%. 31%, it's what you do basically in a good year. So we just done it in 3.5%, in 3.5 months. So I think this product is quite remarkable, and it's now available for our private clients in the webinar sale. You can buy a 3 month subscription to our AI-powered portfolio in $330 per month. Of course, it's paid every 3 months. And the next rebalance is happening on the 23rd of July. In 3 days, we're going to start the new rebalance, and you're going to get the stock. So don't miss that train and join us on the AI powered portfolio.
Yeah, and it's the first time that we are publishing July portfolio, and it's very interesting selection. We can find here basically several stocks, very interesting stocks. We see the outperformance. Again, we see AMSC, we see LRCX, we can find VRT that you have mentioned, we can find UPST, and also names such as IESC. You know, the names, the tickers are not stocks that you can find in the Wall Street Journal. I don't know. I didn't find any of those stocks in the media. And this is what's unique about the AI. The AI is scanning the market, identifying the opportunities, and we can find here ETFs. We can find here actually four ETFs, right, Ben?
Yeah.
4 ETFs and 6 stocks, and still the performance is more than 3 times than the market and the S&P, which is quite unique. And also the ability to outperform the market by 6%. And for the second month, I think in the previous month, we also made a very significant outperformance. Yeah, almost 5%. So for two actually months in a row, we managed to outperform the market by a significant percent. It's very unique. And the last remark is about April. April, as Ben mentioned, was quite challenging, I would say, for the market. And despite the fact that the market went down, the AI managed to produce a significant return. Again, 5% outperformance versus the S&P 500. I think it's very, very interesting product.
True. And again, you can buy it in a 3 month subscription in $330 per month, paid every 3 months. The next rebalance is in 3 days. So keep that in mind, and try to join us to the next rebalance. And if you want to combine the two sales that we just saw, you can have it in a 12 month subscription, paid every 12 months, and you can choose one of the packages that we just saw, if it's the Buzz package, if the AI package, or crypto package, ETF package, and combining it with the AI-powered portfolio, and you can get that for $299 per month, and get this amazing deal that also available for the next 24 hours. You can find the link for this specific Deal is deal number 3 in the chat. You can just press on the link and get the deal. Choose one of the packages that we just talked about, or any other packages that in our website, and combine it with the AI portfolio, which means that you get your portfolio, a monthly portfolio, and then you can stick stock in a shorter time frames or longer time frames while using our packages. So this is a really unique webinar sales that we have for you today. And another interesting product and really popular one is our report, second half report for the 2025, in which we are holding together all the best stocks in the US market, best ETF, best sectors and industries, aggressive stocks, small stocks, different stocks from different sectors. We have the best in global indices, commodities and cryptocurrencies, everything in one report. This is, I think it's like the 5th or 6th year of this report, and the results also are remarkable. What you have to do in this one-time report is just buy and hold those stocks for until the end of 2025. And if we're gonna have a glimpse of what happened in 2024 in this report, we can find some interesting stocks there, such as the WSM, if you know it from the home builders universe. We can find NVIDIA here, which made 155%. We can have the Chinese stock, the DOCU, that made 82%, and many other indices and sectors that outperform the market. We can find, for example, XSW here, with software and services. We can find the IXIC, which is the Nasdaq. We can find KRE, which is the regional banks, and many other sectors and stocks, and the best of the best out of this long time forecast, as we can see in 2024. And in the same way, this forecast in 2023 also outperformed the market, with stocks such as Microsoft that made 66%, NVIDIA again with 240%, AVGO with 100%, LRCX, and the average return of the stocks was 97% in 1 year, which is crazy. And we can see there are many other indices that appeared in this report in 2023. And if we're looking just for the first 6 months of 2025, we can see we're giving you a glimpse of what happened in the beginning of the year. This report was generated again in the beginning of the year, and we have another half of a year report. So in the beginning of the year, one of the stocks that was in this report was actually Robinhood, that made more than 100% from the beginning of 2025. We can find many other interesting stocks such as Netflix and the CrowdStrike that we can see here. We can find the aerospace and defense that we talked about. Again, this is not actually updated up until today. The returns are actually higher, but just you can check it by yourself later. But just see the names that you can find here. You can find Meta here. We can find SoFi. SoFi from the beginning of the year. I don't know how many percent it already made. We can find the Buzz ETF. We can find Microsoft and MSTR, the Bitcoin from the beginning of the year, more than 40%. TSM, XLK, XLF, a lot of sectors and a lot of industries that the algorithm suggests to hold and buy for a long period of half a year, from today until the end of 2025. And you can get this one-time report for $699 for one payment of $699, and you can get this report and all the best assets and stocks that you can hold for the next 6 months. And I really like this product. I think it's
Yes.
unique and it's actually suitable for investor that doesn't like to, trade on a daily basis or weekly basis or even monthly basis. They're looking for a long-term investment and just hold and buy these stocks for the next 6 months and the results in the last 4 or 5 years is pretty amazing. You can check it in the website. We have all the full reports published on our website, iknowfirst.com, and you can see the returns of each and every asset that appear on this report. So this is now available as a webinar sale again for $699 in a one-time payment.
Right. What unique about, as you mentioned, what unique about this product, it's almost like our institutional products, since we are providing a comprehensive analysis with the best long-term opportunities. In order to conduct or to produce this report, we are relying on the long-term forecast across different investment universes. In the very same way that we are doing it with the leading hedge fund, family offices, and investment houses. It's suitable for buy and hold investors since we are relying on the very long-term predictions. And the results speaks to themselves. The fact that we see here tickers like Robinhood, as you mentioned, SoFi, actually the Silver, Meta, XAR, the industry that you mentioned, that you just mentioned, actually, the fact that our clients got a positive focus for XAR already on the beginning of this year, it's quite interesting. TSM.
The gold.
Sorry?
Gold, GLD.
Oh, yeah, I forgot gold. Sorry. I forgot gold. Basically, with 27 year-to-date performance, it's quite unique. Of course, we can find here names such as Microsoft that is outperforming the Magnificent Seven since the beginning of the year. And it's quite unique report that is different from the other product that's suitable for mid-term investment and maybe short-term investment. This is suitable for long-term investors, buy and hold investors, and it's quite interesting to see those tickers in this report.
Yeah, RL as well, Ralph Lauren also with 25% year to date. So, and not all the stocks that you hear in the street. I mean, you can see some other stocks in Nvidia and the other famous stocks. You can find really unique stocks that has generated a really good returns. And this is again for one payment of $699. And now we are having a first and the unique webinar sales that we have today. You can get all of it for $299 per month. You get the one package that you can choose. You get the AI powered portfolio, and you get the special report for the best AI picks for the second half of 2025 for $299. But that is only for the next 24 hours, and the first 50 subscribers that are gonna get this sale. So it's limited for a 50 spot. So hurry up and get this. I think it's the best sale that we have ever had because you're having everything. You're having the one package, you're having the AI portfolio, and you get the long-term special report for the 2025 second half. I think it's something that you shouldn't miss, but only for the 51st subscribers that will get this webinar sale that appears in the chat. You can get that again in the chat. You can see all our webinar sales, and I think you should really grab it with two hands because uh, the, the 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 advantage that you're gonna get in this the combination is pretty amazing. So now it's available for the next 24 hours, the first 50 subscribers, and then it's done. So hurry up and get this interesting webinar. There. All right. So before we're gonna move on, just a quick review of what that we actually gave you or suggested you, which package we suggested last month. We can see the webinar choices from the last webinar in the 23rd of June. Yaron actually chose the stocks and the AI-powered portfolio which made some remarkable returns. We can see the semiconductors this month is skyrocketing, and you can find my suggestion of the Buzz package. Also, the Buzz, as we saw, made some significant return in the last month, and some interesting stocks that are in it are still looking good. So that was our last webinar.
And you're modest. You made 14% with the Buzz, so it was a very good choice, and 10% with the AI portfolio. The semiconductors went up by almost 9% over the last month. So in general, I think the choices were, I would say, they were okay, right?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, way above the S&P. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, and our choices for the next month is Yaron decided to go with the top 10 that we just talked about, and I think it's an interesting choice. I think this month is going to actually beat me, but
Come on.
I actually chose still the Baz package because I think it's really diverse and has a lot of sectors and a lot of universe in it. But also the top 10. The top 10 got really good predictions on the Bitcoin and the Bitcoin movement that we're going to talk about in a few more slides. But those are our choices for this month. I think combining, you have to combine the AI portfolio. I mean, you saw the returns yourself, and I think the Buzz or the top 10 would be an excellent choice. All right.
Okay. As we all know, the market is not always going to the positive direction.
I know.
No,
Um,
it's not the only direction that we have. Sometimes the market might go down. And the beauty about the top 10 package that you have just mentioned, that it's also providing, besides the best opportunities, the best stock opportunities, it's also providing a very important stock market intelligence indication with the daily S&P 500 forecast that is part of this package. As we can see here, we can find an example where the AI algorithm had a negative prediction for the S&P. We have seen it in around the end of February 2020, while the S&P 500 had a negative forecast, as we can see it here on the left side. And the strongest signals came basically from the bottom of this heat map. And as we all remember, it was the period when we started to see or to hear about the mysterious virus that is coming from China to Europe, but back then we didn't see any effect of that over the market. And after 3 days, we started to understand what's going on with this drop in the market that we have seen. And actually, we have seen it also around the end of March this year. We started to see negative prediction for the S&P, as we see on the right heat map. And the strongest signals came from the bottom of the heat map again. And again, we have seen a significant drop in the market. By the way, we have seen it also in other years, such as 2023 and the additional years. But it's a very important, I would say, lighthouse that can assist us to manage risk. If we see that the S&P 500 forecast is positive, then we can feel comfortable with the risk. We can build the risk on portfolio. However, if we see that more and more heat maps have a negative prediction for the S&P, and also the strongest signals are coming from the bottom of the heat map, we might want to manage the risk, to exit existing predictions, or to take advantage of this movement by shorting the stocks that are appearing in the bottom. But in terms of risk management, it's a very important and very, I would say, let's say, important tool that we can take into account when we taking a decision in the market.
Yep. We also saw the markets drop in 2025. I mean, it's natural, and the market goes up and down. It cannot go up all the time. But we have a tool that can actually assist us and let us know before we are supposed to get some volatility in the market. And we can see this quite a unique example from the 20th of February 2025, before the market dropped in a really rushed way in the beginning of the year. We got a really good signs for some negative trend in the market. We saw the S&P and the Nasdaq were negative. We find the VX10, which is the VIX, the fear index of the Nasdaq, was in the top of our charts, top of our tables with a high signal. So we knew that there's some volatility is coming in our way. And then after a few days, we saw that the S&P was really negative. We saw all the main indices in the US are negative, and the VIX itself is positive with high signal. And we knew that this drop that we saw in February is not just a small correction, or more of a trend that's going to last for a while. And it did last actually until the mid of April. And that's where the algorithm is actually helping us as a decision support tool, or in giving us the best intelligence for the market. It happened again, by the way, in April. We saw this picture in April, which was quite reddish, of all the indices and in the sectors that are painted red, so that we knew that there's some volatility is coming, and the market actually dropped by 13% in those days. So we can, as Yaron said, use the algorithm as a market intelligence tool and help us to navigate through the market, the volatility, and to know and identify the trends. And again, as a tool that can actually supply us some very good opportunities in the market. If we'll focus on those Friday forecasts that were sent on 18th of July, we can see, for example, from the S&P 500 universe. Of course, there's 10 stocks here that I deleted. I just left the two main one in a 3 days time frame. We can see that Coinbase, that actually moved up by 2.2%, while ALGN, that was in the bottom painted red with the negative signal, moved down by almost 8%. Just in 1 day of trading, we can see the results of our unique algorithm. And again, from the AI forecast, we saw the stocks that appeared here in the first row, the first 5 stocks also made some a positive return, while the S&P went down, as we saw earlier. And we talked about the MIIP in the beginning of this webinar, and Open that also made some really significant return on the Friday. All right, now I want to talk about some interesting topics that we have actually occurred in July. And it's actually not just in July. I think it's actually in all 2025. The three main sectors that we see in the market. First is the Bitcoin. Of course, we saw some significant move from the Bitcoin coin in the last few months, even reaching its peak in $123,000 dollars price. We also see the semiconductor sector, as we mentioned in earliest webinar. I think from like the last 3 or even 4 webinars, we are talking about how good is the semiconductor sectors, and we are showing it to you in the forecast, in the future forecast, in each and every webinar. And this is one of the leading sectors today in 2025 that actually is the motor of the S&P index, and of course the AI industry that is just blooming in the last few months, and getting and we are seeing a lot of money is flowing into this industry. And I'm gonna elaborate shortly about any one of those three that I mentioned now. So let's start with the Bitcoin, because I'm getting a lot of questions from investors. How can they invest in the Bitcoin and without buying the Bitcoin itself? So first, if we are looking at the Bitcoin in the last few years, that is a chart from 2020 up until now, and we can see some interesting prices that it was in 2020. We can find it around $7,000, and as I said, it's up to $120,000 that we saw in July, that it actually got to its peak. And besides moving with thousands of percentage among the years, it actually has a really large market cap. It's almost like big as Amazon. It's actually bigger than Amazon. You can see the market cap of the Bitcoin here, compared to Nvidia, compared to Microsoft, Amazon, Google. The Magnificent Seven here is actually beating some of the Magnificent Seven in the market cap. So we're seeing that the Bitcoin is getting really popular, and not just only with private clients and private investors, also in the institutional world. When we're seeing it that year, more and more institutional are actually buying Bitcoin, and in 2025, it's actually the year that the institutionals are holding more Bitcoins than the regular people, like regular investors, and actually giving the cryptocurrencies a wide boost in 2025. And if we are checking this year, the last few years returns, we can find that in the last 10 years, the Bitcoin made 40,000%, which is quite crazy, as we find Nvidia with 34,000%, which is also crazy. We can find Tesla, Netflix, Microsoft, and Amazon with really high returns, and the S&P with 260 return in the last 10 years. Look at the difference between the Bitcoin and the S&P, and we can see it in each and every year. But we also see some years have some high volatility, as for example 2018, that it went down by 73%, or 2022. But sometimes it's get 300%, 90%, 150%. And even this year, we are already standing on 26%, while the S&P is in 10.4. So I think Bitcoin is really interesting in 2025, and I think it's going to be interesting in the next few years. And you can be exposed to it not just by buying the crypto itself. In Israel, you can also actually trade cryptocurrencies on our local stock exchange. You can do it in foreign stock exchange, but there are some other ways that you can expose yourself to the Bitcoin or the Ethereum, by the way, and we offer it in different ways. The first one is the Buzz package that we talked about. You actually get a specific forecast of the Bitcoin. You can see here the Bitcoin was one of the best assets to be in the 15th of June. It moves 11%. You can do it by our crypto package, which we are giving a forecast to more than 100 cryptocurrencies on a daily basis. We have 4 different kind of crypto packages that you can check in our website. And you can do it by the top 10 package. That's actually not holding specific, not giving a specific prediction about the Bitcoin, but we have a lot of companies that are related to the cryptocurrency universe, such as Coin, that is actually a crypto stock exchange. We have Riot that are actually producing Bitcoins or CLSK, and many others, the BTBT, that many others stocks that actually are related to the Bitcoin and really affected by his movement. We can also find it in another package that's called implied volatility option package, one of my favorite. If you really like the volatility, and again, those packages in the risk is of course higher, but you can find some companies such as Nvidia, such as HUT, HUT, Mara, that are all CLSK, that are all related to the cryptocurrency. It's not specifically actually just a crypto, but from the 1st of July, we can see that the majority of the stocks that are in this package is actually related to the Bitcoin. So that's another way that you can expose yourself to the crypto industry. So you have the Buzz package, the crypto package, the top 10, or the implied volatility package. I think crypto is an important part of your portfolio, around 3% or 2% of your portfolio. I think would be interesting to diverse and invest in the cryptocurrencies. And of course, you have to know that those specific assets has a higher level of risk. So everyone should consider how to use it and how much to buy from it. But again, of course, we're not telling you buying a crypto in any other way. But I think it should be a part of everybody's portfolio. I think it's a interesting asset that is growing up in the last few years.
Yes, my 2 cents about this subject. So basically, you have two choices: or to get a dedicated package that's focusing on cryptocurrencies, like the one that Ben showed in the previous slide. Maybe you can go back, Ben. So one package is dedicated package that basically providing daily forecast for more than 100 different cryptocurrencies. You can focus on the majors one or decide to go on the entire universe. By the way, what's interesting in this example that you're sharing here from 10 days ago is that the AI algorithm was managing to predict also the recent jump of the Ethereum. As we can see here, everyone is talking about the Bitcoin, but Ethereum managed to outperform the Bitcoin. I think I saw several questions about our current prediction of the Ethereum, and we can see that the Ethereum was in the first place. So this is the first option, to get a dedicated cryptocurrency package, or you can buy a general package such as the BAS or the top 10 stock package or the implied volatility one. And then if the AI algorithm will identify opportunity in this asset class, I totally agree with you, by the way, Ben. It's a legitimate asset class right now with higher volatility, but it's an asset class. So if the AI algorithm will identify opportunities across this unique asset class, then you will be able to see it with the general package that actually tracking the entire US market, tracking all the different sectors and mapping opportunities across the different sectors. So in the very same way that we have found it in the BAS package or the top 10 package or the implied volatility package, you're going to get this opportunity with specific stocks that helping you to get an exposure to this unique asset class.
Yep. And I think another leading sector in 2025, and especially in July, was the semiconductor that we just talked about. That already made almost 14% in 2025 and was led by NVIDIA and AMD, by the way, that actually made more than NVIDIA from the beginning of the year. Sorry. So this semiconductor universe is one of the outperforming sector in 2025 from the S&P 500. And we also can provide a package that follow those semiconductor stocks in which the algorithm gives you the best semiconductor stock for the next month, 3 days, 2 weeks, even 3 months, even in 1 year. And this example is actually from the last webinar. We saw that the semiconductor was the best package or the best sector. So we drilled into it and we saw what was the two main stocks that the algorithm provide us for the next month. And we saw that was AMD and NVIDIA that actually made 22% and 19% in 1 month. So I think it's really interesting to see highest signal as those two. And of course, we have here 10 more stocks that actually also perform really well. I just bring you the first two. So that's, I think, another interesting universe that we had in July in 2025. And of course, the last one is artificial intelligence. We saw a lot of money actually moves into those ETF funds and basically into the AI sector. We can see the government is funding those companies, and we can see that the big tech leaders such as Microsoft, NVIDIA, Meta, that we hear a lot of the news that are trying to steal engineers from each other, and the trade, the war that they have there between the stealing the brains of the AI inventors. So those are the companies that actually throw billions of dollars in 2025. It's actually estimated that those magnificent seven will spend more than $350 billion on AI. It's a crazy amount, and all those companies are eventually going to get this money or enjoy from this flowing money. So the momentum in the AI, I think, is still big, and 2025 will show us how big is it. And of course, we can provide you a package that will expose you to those stocks that can enjoy this AI momentum. We have the AI package in which we have just stocks that can actually enjoy and have really strong relations to the AI universe. You can find there NVIDIA, AMAT, STNE, NET, NXPI, and many other stocks that are going to enjoy this huge amount of money that's going to be invested in the AI universe. All right. For our third and last part of our webinar, we're going to talk about some artificial intelligence strategies that we are actually giving to our institutional clients. What we saw so far, it's actually meant to our private clients, but we also actually develop automatic strategies to our institutional clients, hedge funds, and the investment house, and many other institutional clients. I'm going to give you a glimpse of how it looks like, and I think it's super interesting. We're going to show it really quickly. Quick educational part of the S&P universe. In the S&P, we have 11 main sectors that's called Geeks Level 1. Those are the sectors you probably know, such as XLK, XLE, XLF, the financial sector, the energy sector, the technology sector, and 11 main sectors that actually holds the S&P 500. In those sectors, we have industries such as semiconductors, which related to the XLK. And we have KRE, for example, the banks, regional banks that is related to XLF, the financial sector. And those 24 industries are actually belongs to those 11 sectors. And we build out of this universe a really interesting strategy, the combined strategy. The combined strategy is actually our component from the Geeks Level 1, 3 of the Geeks Level 1 sector, 2 of the Geeks Level 2 industry. We have 5 most predictable stocks from the S&P universe, and we are using the algorithm to decide if this specific strategy or portfolio should go long or short each and every month. The rebalance is made once a month, and I think when you'll see the result, you'll be quite amazed, because in the last 5 years, the algorithm has actually succeeded to make 566% compared to the 52% return of the S&P, which I think is quite amazing. And you can see the returns each and every year from 2020 up until 2025. We have something that calls the drawdown to see the volatility of those strategy, and we measure it and compare it to the S&P. And actually, from the beginning of 2025, we can see that the combined strategy made 27, almost 28%, while the S&P stands on 7%. And here again, we are using different sectors, different stocks in each and every rebalance. And I'll show you some of the rebalancing. For example, in March, the sectors that we held in a short position, as you can see here, is XLI, XLP, XLU, the home builders, the semiconductors, and 5 stocks that we decided to short on. That actually gave us almost 2%, while the market went down by 3.6. And the same way it happened in March. We actually generated 2.6 positive return, while the S&P went down by 2.2. So even in 2025, when the market goes down, using our algorithm and the artificial intelligence that we use to those systematic trading made the difference between a return of 3.6 to going down by the market of the S&P by 2%, like that happened in the 2nd of April. In this case, again, we decided to short. It wasn't, I can tell you that it wasn't such an easy decision. Now it's easy to say, but when you're in the storm, it's hard to pick a side if we go up or down. But the algorithm help us to see and to understand what's going to happen in the market. And in this particular date, he suggests us to go short, and we can see that actually made some great returns in April. We can see the same way in May, and of course in June, while the market went up by 3.4, and the strategy actually produced 6.7 return in this specific month. And we can see that also that the algorithm, not just picking the best assets, is also giving them the weights that we should hold them. And that's one of the interesting features that we suggest in this strategy. As we can see, 27 of the portfolio was actually invested in XLK, the technology sector, which made 11% in this specific month. So it's not just picking the stocks or the asset, it's also allocating our portfolio in the perfect and ideal way. So that's what we see in June. And in July, it's not over yet, but we're still leading the market. If we are 4.6, while the S&P is 3.3, and we can see again the majority of the weight went to XLK, the technology sector, and we can see many interesting stocks here, such as KKR, such as PH and PNR, and many other semi-sectors or industries from the Geeks Level 1 and Geeks Level 2. And that's a really popular strategy for our institutional clients.
Yes, I see several institutional clients in the crowd. So my 2 cents about this strategy. Well, basically, this is the Rolls Royce of the strategies because it's taking advantage not only from long opportunities, but also short selling opportunities. We see that in some months, for example, on the beginning of 2025, when the algorithm had the bearish signals for the market, the algorithm managed to produce positive returns by building a short position. And the beauty here is that most of the allocation is to ETFs. So you can see that basically most of the 80% of this portfolio is allocated to ETFs. So the risk in a way is lower than shorting, than building a portfolio with, I don't know, 10, 11 stocks to short, since most of the exposure is to ETFs that you're basically eliminating the risk of short squeeze by exposing yourself to the ETFs mainly. And we can see the interesting performance and the consistent performance over the last 5 years of this strategy. But without, I would say the risk level here is lower. It's a long short strategy, but most of the exposure is to ETFs. And here we can see basically the comparison of this strategy. I think it's until the end of June, and the year-to-date performance of this strategy when we're comparing this strategy to the leading hedge funds that are out there. And we can see the interesting performance of this strategy. Again, versus other leading hedge funds, US hedge funds and world hedge funds. And it's very interesting to see not only the outperformance of this strategy versus the S&P 500, but also the outperformance versus the leading hedge funds that are out there.
Yep, we can see the returns in June compared also to the returns from the beginning of the year. That the strategy actually outperformed all of those leading hedge funds from the US. So it's interesting to see. So if there's any other institutional clients in the crowd, please feel free to contact us through the website or through the mail that you see on your screen, and we'll try to find an interesting strategy for you as well.
Okay, we are approaching the end of the webinar, and we are going to see the live forecast for the upcoming month in a few minutes. Before that, in order that Ben will be able to breathe, I will go over quickly, really quick, on different universes, different interesting universes that we have. The first one is the Robinhood package. This package is actually monitoring the most popular stocks across the Robinhood trading platform. Let's continue, Ben. Of course, it's possible to drill down into leading sectors such as semiconductors or the technology, as we can see here. Cryptocurrencies, we have talked about that. World indices, basically the best indices across the globe. Commodities forecast, I saw many questions about the gold. It's possible to get the gold forecast by using the commodities forecast. So, and of course, we can also get daily forecast for the leading currencies, major ones, and also exotic ones. It's possible to drill down into leading sectors such as energy, or pharma, utilities, and also, of course, it's possible to get the best stock picks from different leading markets across the globe. For instance, the best stocks from the Euronext, from the European stock picks, or other markets across the globe. It could be Canada, it could be China, it could be any stock exchange across the globe, of course, India. And yeah, Ben, I think we can talk about the live forecast.
Yeah. So before we're going to see what the algorithm thinks about the next month, let's see what happened in the last webinar. And this is what we actually showed you, the best sectors that are gonna perform in the following month. We can find their XSD leading this forecast. The XSD is the semiconductors universe, just equal weighted, which made 10% this month. Stocks, again, semiconductors, 8.9. XME, that I think it went under the radar, metals and mining sector that actually performed 12.7%. We can also find IYW, which also performed 8.2%. Of course, the US technology. XTR is the aerospace and defense. Tel Aviv real estate was one of the leading one and actually performed 13.6%. And XLK, the technology sector, also performed 8% in the last month. But we can also see here the buzz. We can also see here the Russell 1000. We can also see here Tel Aviv 90, Tishim, Tel Aviv 90, the indices, home builders, and many other sectors that really performed well this month according to our AI performance, AI sectors, AI forecast, sorry. And now let's see what the algorithm actually thinks for the next month. So this is a forecast from today, 1 month ahead, and we can see that the semiconductors is still ruling this forecast. And we can see that the buzz, again, still looks quite good. We found the aerospace and defense in the top. We can find the technology sector in the top. We can find the banking, regional banks in the US looking good. Software and services in the Russell 1000, and also the Nasdaq is also quite positive. So if we are focusing on the highest signal, we can find again metals and mining. We can find semiconductors, buzz, aerospace and defense, XLK, the technology sector, KCE, the capital market, also interesting industry. And we're seeing those are the leading ones. In the bottom, I just cut this forecast to half because it was too long. We can find the RWR, which is the real estate that doesn't look good for a while now. We can find the XHE, which is the healthcare equipment sector. We can find the insurance company, and we can find XHS, which is the healthcare system, also quite negative. So this is the forecast for the next month by the algorithm. best indices and best sectors for the next 30 days. And before we're going to answer all of your questions, just going to show you a quick reminder of our special webinar sales that are available for the next 24 hours. 1+1 for any packages that you saw in this webinar and in the website for $299 per month. No commitment, you can cancel it anytime. The second webinar is the webinar sale is the 3-month subscription to the AI powered portfolio, $330 per month, paid every 3 months. Again, don't have to do anything, just buy the stock and hold them for a 4-week period. Another webinar sale is the one package of your choice, and you combine it with the AI powered portfolio. This goes for $299 per month, paid every 12 months. This is available for the next 24 hours. And the stock market portfolio, stock market report for the second half of 2025, we have it for $699. It's hold and buy for the next 6 months for 2025. And the quickest, the 50 most quickest subscribers that will get the 1-year subscription from now to the next 24 hours will get all of those features that we saw here together. They get package of your choice, they get the AI portfolio, and they get the special report for the best AI picks for 2025, all in $299 per month, paid every 12 months. So you have to be quick. Even if I was correct, I saw already 2 people that bought those subscriptions. So 48 left. So do it quickly. We have this special webinar sales for the next 24 hours. And this is our suggestions for combining the packages. So feel free to use any of the webinar sales available on the chat of this Zoom. You can press on the chat button and see all the links, or it's already in our website at iKnowFirst.com. You can find those webinar sales as well there as well.
Okay. Great. Let's while you're presenting the QR code for WhatsApp group, let's try to address some questions from the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. First question is coming from the US. This question about the gold forecast. How can I get the gold forecast? I think I answered this question. There is a dedicated package that's focusing on commodities, so feel free to use it in order to get a daily forecast for the gold and silver and oil and other leading commodities. I think more than 50 different commodities. Okay, additional questions. I think we answered the question about the Ethereum versus the Bitcoin while we shared the cryptocurrencies forecast. Okay, there is a question about the options. Sometimes it's difficult to catch the rise in advance because those stocks are moving quite quickly. I totally agree with you. Thank you for this question. I do suggest today to focus on the long-term forecast and the most predictable stocks as been advised in this forecast in order to catch the rise in advance. And maybe this is the most important tips that I have for you guys. Focus on the most predictable assets, focus on the assets with the strongest signals, try to combine the 2 indicators, or take advantage of the AI portfolio that can actually assist you to get the top picks without making any selection. Let's see, any additional questions that you see? There are many questions, Ben, and I think,
I think we answered
yeah.
the majority of them.
Yes, I think we answered most of the questions. It's an interesting period in the market, and I think, Ben, it was a very interesting webinar, Ben. It was interesting for me. We hope that it was interesting for you guys as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we are an interesting period in the market, and there might be a little bit volatility, but we see, as you can see, that the algorithm thinks that the market is going to be positive in the next few months. So use this opportunity, use this volatility to get better price for stocks or for assets, and diverse your portfolio and try to balance it and balance the risk that you are holding in your portfolio. And thank you for joining us in this long webinar, but I hope it was interesting.
It was indeed. Thank you very much, Ben, for such an interesting webinar. Thank you very much for the great questions, and good luck in the upcoming period, in the upcoming month, in the upcoming week. And feel free to use to utilize the artificial intelligence in order to identify opportunities in the market. Thank you very much.